Well, Razorback fans, I have a little bit of a would you rather question for you all today. Would you rather be the team that everybody picks to do great things before the season starts? Or would you rather be that silent underdog? Let's talk about it on today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon on Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Hope everybody's having a wonderful, wonderful Thursday as we are getting close to the weekend. I know Razorback baseball will be taken up against LSU and the Tigers down there in Baton Rouge, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about. And we'll have some other things to get into as well, dealing with the Razorbacks and some of the news going on, especially with college basketball and the conferences, because I want to talk about something specific from that too. But, on my Inside Arkansas Live show yesterday, there was a good discussion, I felt like, when dealing with Razorback fans and their approach that they have to seasons. Because as we talked about yesterday, it's about having the top 10, top 15, top 25 rankings that everybody looks at when it comes to preseason or the way too early rankings or however you want to look at it. A lot of Razorback fans look at that and that's what they want. They want to be a part of that. A lot of Razorback fans want to be on the billboards. They want to have all the action. They want to be talked about the most. But I'll be honest, folks. I felt like as a Razorback fan, most of the times when I've been the most excited about a season because I felt like Arkansas was put in a position to where they could be really good or preseason pick to be one of the best teams in the country and top 10, top 15, whatever it is, almost never do they actually live up to that expectation. I mean, if you think about it, dating all the way back to 2007, Razorback football, Darren McFadden, Felix Jones, everybody coming back. Arkansas was a top 10, top 15 team, and they went 8-4. And that year they finished. Actually, they may have finished outside the top 25 because they finished 8-5 after the bowl loss. So didn't live up to it. The John L. Smith year, 2012, Arkansas was a preseason top 10, top 15 team. Didn't live up to it. Went 4-8. Razorback football in other cases too, preseason, have been highly regarded. You could even say in 2022, because Arkansas got up to the number 8 ranking, and people felt really good about them, and it didn't end well. And you can take it more steps with basketball. It's happened. It felt like, Arkansas this past season, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and it seems like they never really get to that point. In baseball, one of the most memorable ones for the wrong reasons. I remember back in, I think it's 2010 and 2013, both those years, Arkansas was preseason number 1 in those cases. I say all that not to bring up bad memories or to, reminisce about the negative things. I bring them up because those were the times where I remember going into the year, I felt like, okay, this team is going to be really good. The national media and everybody involved felt like they're going to be really good. And they actually lived up to that expectation of being really good. Because somebody even brought up to me 2010 in football. But my thing was like Arkansas, when that year started, they were picked in the top 25, but they weren't highly ranked. They ended up finishing 10-3 and everything. But it's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate that it has to be that way. And then when you think about some of the best years Arkansas has had in their history, and in most cases, not all, but in most cases, they came out of nowhere. Sam Pittman's second year when they finished 9-4 ended up being one of the better teams in the SEC West that year. Came out of nowhere. Or the old SEC West, I should say. But yeah, it came out of nowhere. You think about the Razorback basketball team, Muss's second year. They were picked to do all right, but I don't think anyone picked them to finish second in the SEC like they did and go as far as what they did. So you think about that. You think about going all the way back to 1998 when Arkansas should have played for a championship, at least an SEC title game, but they were picked to finish 6th in the league. Arkansas in 2006 when they won 10 games with Darren McFadden and all them. They were picked as one of the bottom teams in the SEC West. The list goes on and on where you've had the great years come out of nowhere. So my question, I say all of that just to set up this question and discuss it. As a Razorback fan, what are you bigger on? Like, what are you more appreciative of? What do you enjoy more? What would you rather have? Do you feel like you and the teams do better when it's us against the world, everyone's doubting us, and we get after it? Or do you feel better about when, everyone thinks we're good and you dadgum right, we end up being good? People just get nervous about it. And I think part of it is my PTSD as a Razorback fan. Trust me, I never want to take anything for granted, but I also don't want to believe in anything that's too great because I feel like I always get hurt in that regard. But my point is, there's a lot of different specifics we could go into and discuss about this, but I still feel like I want to have the mentality of when I'm good, everyone knows I'm good, and I showcase that I'm good. There's nothing sweeter than that, folks. There's nothing better than that because it's a matter of handling the pressure. Some coaches have not been able to do that. I brought up a few examples of Houston Nutt. Houston Nutt always felt like almost didn't want the pressure of being a great team. Didn't want to have those preseason rankings because he didn't know how to handle it. He only knew how to do one gear, one way, and that is to be the underdog. I think that you could even make an argument that Sam Pittman's a little bit like that. He plays out better when he's the underdog, when everyone's counting him out. That's when he does things. Mike Anderson was kind of the same way. He likes to be an underdog. And that's fine, but it also can kind of get frustrating at times because you're like, Jay, just once, I want to believe we're going to be good instead of just hoping that we upset some people and hoping that we keep that mentality and keep that energy going because at the end of the day, it's no guarantee in that. And then people may look at you a certain way to where if you had a great year when you weren't supposed to, everyone will be like, well, had nothing to do with them being good, had nothing to do with them being talented, had nothing to do with their great coaching or anything. It was just a fluke. It was just one of those things. It works because at the end of the day, you'll win no matter what, and you'll enjoy winning no matter what. But just every so often, I would love to have the expectations met. I would love to have, when everyone's on board with you being a great team, you go out there and you show that you are a great team, beginning to end. It's a tough thing to do for anybody, but it feels like Arkansas has had those types of things happen few and far between. It's just not a thing. You can call it loser mentality. You can call it little man syndrome. You can call it us against the world. I mean, you could put it whatever phrase and whatever way you want it done. But I prefer to live up to the high expectation. But really, in most of the sports of my lifetime, you've never really had that. It always felt like there was a level of, disrespect and, if this player commits to Arkansas, well, we better lower their star ratings, all of that. But the saving grace that I do have for myself and why I am going to point to and why this could end up being something that's really great. Because you have John Calipari as your head coach of college basketball for the Razorbacks. Like, you have him. And with him, always will come a high expectation. I'm not talking about the media that hate on him, because that's going to be all the time. But he's always going to have talent. He's always going to go out and get great players. He's always going to have a lot of attention. He's always going to be a preseason darling, a team that's going to be picked to finish high in the SEC every year, a team that's going to be picked to finish in the top 10, top 15 every year, a team that's going to be picked to be a dark horse to maybe win the national championship or go to the Final Four. And maybe in some cases, not even has to be a dark horse where they're just a favorite. He's going to have that each and every year. And even last year, you had it. Now, granted, the season didn't go and look like a team that was one of the best teams in the country, but you did get to the Sweet 16, and that was great. But to say that all of it lived up to the expectation of the type of team that you had, it wasn't there. If there was ever a chance where it happens for Arkansas, it's going to be with John Calipari. It's going to be with him owning it because he's been there before. That dude knows nothing but having pressure. That dude knows nothing but getting all the attention and being put under a microscope and having the highest of expectations for himself as well as his team and answering the call. Like, he's been through it. His entire career has been about that. And when Arkansas hired John Calipari, it was not to just get the Cal that it's getting into his older age and we don't really care about if he wins or loses. No, you got John Calipari because you want to have that here at Arkansas. You can even say the same about Dave Van Horn. Now, I know Dave Van Horn hasn't won the College World Series title yet, but he's accomplished pretty much everything else. And if you look at the baseball program in general over the past 5 to 7 seasons, you'd be hard-pressed to find a more consistent and a greater college baseball program than what Arkansas has been able to put forth. Again, I know it's about championships. He has not won one yet. But even teams that won championships had some really bad years, down years where they barely made the tournament. But Arkansas, for the most part, I mean, you think about it, and if I'm doing my math correctly in this, they've been a national seed in college baseball every year except for the one in 2022 when they made the World Series, but every year except for that one since 2018. That's insane. But it's because of the expectation that comes along with it. You know, they may be a preseason number 3 team, but if they only finish number 9 in the country, does that make them the failed of their expectation? No, I'm not talking about that, folks. I'm not talking about, well, you were picked to finish 13th and you finished 17th, so therefore it doesn't. No. I'm talking about when it's a huge gap and you're talking about the large, high expectations. That, my friends, that is what is difficult to maintain, to handle, and to adjust to. But you're a Razorback fan. And a lot of you are Arkansans. Some of you are former Arkansans. Some of you may even claim to be an Arkansan. You know what it's like being here. It truly is us against the world. Nobody likes us. Nobody wants us to do well. Everybody wants us to fail and fail miserably. And they like to mock you, laugh at you, poke fun at you, all of that. So how can you not have the us against the world mentality? It's fine. I have it too. But you can still have the us against the world mentality while everyone believing that this team is going to be really good as much as they hate to admit it. That's when you know you surpass even that expectation where they don't want you to be in the mix, but man, they have to put you there because you're just that good. That's what I hope it happens to one day. Okay, I want to talk about SEC scheduling in college basketball because ACC, you really screwed up, man. We'll get to that in a second, so stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, I'm here to tell you about the Game Time app. There's nothing like the atmosphere that we've been seeing in NBA playoff games where every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels so huge. It's electric in the arena. And with Game Time, you can be a part of it without the stress of the last-minute ticket buying and hunting. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when the demand is sky high. Prices on the app usually go down as tip-off gets closer, and their last-minute deals save you up to 60%. The last-minute deals are the best thing about it because you're talking about 60% off for last-minute sports, and that's just not sports. That's comedy, that's concerts, it's theater shows, it's all of it. Plus, the all-in pricing means no surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you pay. No steps to where you're like, hey, I'm getting a great deal, and then 2 steps later, boom, you're paying triple. That's not what they do. You get to see the all-in pricing right up front. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. This isn't maybe something that specifically has a direct involvement with Arkansas, but it is something that I feel like it was worth talking about. College basketball and the conference games and the amount of conference games that are in schedules is all varied. I mean, how many times you see this? Not as often in some sports, but then in other sports, it's just all over the place. I think about college football, for instance. Almost everybody has an 8-game conference schedule, no matter the conference. They may throw in a 9 game here and there. I think the Big 12 had that and everything. But for the most part, it's been 8 games, 9 if you get crazy. But baseball, 30 games. Softball, 30 games. Pretty consistent there. I mean, I don't know exactly the all-ins of all 19 sports and everything as far as the conference schedule goes, but you know what I'm saying. Like, it's pretty consistent across the board. Only in college basketball do they have some crazy numbers that are all over the place. The ACC was one of those conferences that had 20 games. You know, the Big Ten was going with 20 games. And I honestly thought it was always cool to have 20 games. But the ACC has now lowered officially their conference schedules and games to 18 games. As far as I know, it's one of the few times you've seen a major conference lower the amount of conference games that they have. And they made it under the guise and excuse of, well, we're trying to do it to make our NCAA tournament popularity be a little bit higher. And so that way people can look at us a different way and say that we got our brand and something, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I just really don't think having two extra ACC games is making the difference between you having 7 teams in the tournament and 8 teams in the tournament. I really don't think that's the case. I feel like there's some other excuses going on, and that's neither here nor there. But the point is that the SEC, where it stands right now, has 18 SEC games. And I remember back pretty much my whole life, they always had 16. And it made sense because they had divisions too. Remember that when the SEC basketball side of things had divisions? I think they were one of the first, if not the first sport to do away with divisions. Which during that time, in that stretch too, so many times I felt like the SEC East, you had Kentucky, you had Florida. Those teams were really good consistently. Billy Donovan over there, Tubby Smith over there. Like, it just felt like it was always like those two. And then on occasion, you'd have another team over there in these, like Tennessee, when they had Bruce Pearl being there, would get up there too. But the SEC West was like every team was just 9-7. Like every single team was 9-7, 10-6 feels crazy. I wanted to say that there was a year where it was literally a 3-way tie at the top of the SEC West with all 3 teams being 9-7. And then in the SEC East, you had a team that was like 14-2, 13-3, and a 12-4. And what that did is that caused such a disparity because then you'd say, the number 1 seed of the SEC West is the 9-7 Arkansas Razorbacks. And they're going to be, facing off against the lowest seed over here. But then the seed over here, that's a 3 seed, is going to be facing this team. It just made everything so bonkers and weird. So they got rid of divisions, which makes sense too, because you play every single team from the SEC in college basketball. Like everybody plays each other. So you get a good idea of the regular season champion who deserves it. But when they moved to 18 games, got rid of the divisions, I was all for it. I thought it was great. And honestly, I thought when when the SEC added teams like Oklahoma and Texas, I thought that they would for sure move to 20 games because you got to find ways to make everybody, have your marquee matchups as great as possible. But luckily for the SEC this past year, the SEC was so good that every single week, every single night that the SEC was playing, there was always marquee games. But I really wish that they would move to 20 games. And if you're an Arkansas Razorback fan, if it meant taking away 2 non-conference games, are you in favor of that? I did the poll question on my show yesterday, and the majority won of saying 20 games, but it was not close, or it was a lot closer than what I thought it would be. It's like 55% to 45% said yes, which was surprising because, would you rather play a South Carolina at home? Or would you rather play a McNeese State, or not, maybe McNeese State's not a good example, but like a Missouri State or a, whatever, Southeast Oklahoma? Who would you rather play? I'd play South Carolina. It's not like one is going to do anything differently for you. And I like having more games that are of note and that actually go towards something, even if it means the SEC regular season title or whatever. I'd be all for it. So I really hope the SEC goes to 20 games. I'm pro 20 games. I'm pro having more SEC matchups of note and of caliber. Hopefully it does that. Probably not, but hey, at least they're not scaling back games like a bunch of jokers like the ACC. Don't be scared, man. Just do your job and you won't have to worry about it. I do want to give a shout out to a specific somebody from the Razorback softball team. And that is coming up next here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast, so stay with us. All right, Razorback fans, did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, and sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Simple as that. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops to Unavowed, as you can easily stream all of your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. With Wi-Fi 6/6E and also auto low latency mode advanced technology, Fire TV Stick 4K delivers smoother, more responsive gameplay with lightning fast speeds to help you stay competitive. Also with 4K streaming, watch more than 1.5 million movies from TV episodes and everything from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and so much more. Host with, I can tell you this, as a host with a hardcore gaming background, I love something like this. I have different settings and I have different systems and whatnot, but when I was an Xbox person, I can tell you that thing, traveling with that was not easy. But luckily, with the Amazon Fire Stick 4K, it makes it extremely easy for you. So head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller is required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, the second generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, first and second generation, and Fire TV Cube, the third generation. All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I'm going to be honest, folks. I don't talk a whole lot about certain sports for the Razorbacks on the podcast. I try to talk about whatever you want to hear. And I look at it, and I've always looked at it when it comes to my content and what I talk about as far as big event, big picture, big box office things. And, football is always going to be a box office. Basketball is always going to be a box office. Baseball, you would think, would be a box office, but really it's only a box office once it comes around in postseason play. And after that, that's pretty much it, unless there's something significant going on. And that is why I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the fact that Bri Ellis of the Razorback softball team is one of the most incredible players you'll ever see. If nobody's seen her and what she's done, it's awesome, man. Courtney Deifel's done a great job, obviously, as the head coach, and it's not surprising at all because she's just that person, and she's always had great teams and great players. But yesterday in the SEC tournament of softball that was going on, Arkansas was tied at 1 in the bottom of the 7th inning with Georgia. Arkansas won 5-1 because Bri Ellis hit a grand slam walk-off. Just onions double order sauteed for that type of move. And it was just a great moment. That's the type of stuff that's just clutch. And she made some great defensive plays too at first base. But this was also something that I know Ethan Westerman of WholeHogSports.com said. Bri Ellis just broke the Razorback softball and tied the SEC season home run record with that walk-off grand slam. Number 26. 26 home runs this year. That ties the SEC record. Insanity. And then you throw into the mix of the Razorback softball social media getting crazy with it. And I love it. I love the crazy deals of like comparing her to Barry Bonds and whatnot. I think it's fun. I think it's really fun to see. And this team has been fun to watch. Really good. One of the best players, if not the best player in the SEC with Bri Ellis on there. So I just wanted to give her a shout out and the softball team a shout out. I know I don't talk about them a whole lot, but they're definitely one of those teams that is looking to go to Oklahoma City, going to the College World Series for them. And wouldn't that be something to have both Razorback baseball and softball in the World Series at the same time? That'd be so cool. So shout out to her. Just going out there and hitting piss missiles like they're going out of style. Got to support that. Got to love that. And hopefully it continues on for the Razorback softball team. Appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at John Nabors Show for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. Keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll see you then.